What would it be like if legendary Pokemon groups got new members? Well, I've been asking that question for a little while in a series where I create some new legendary Pokemon to fit in with all of the different legendary Pokemon groups that are out there. It's super fun and you guys have enjoyed it, which I really appreciate, so in this video we're back for more, with even more new members of legendary Pokemon groups. Let's check it out. So these new legendaries have been made possible in part by today's sponsor, Dave. Dave's support helps to keep making videos like this one happening, and they can also help you when you need a little support as well. Life can get crazy for a million different reasons, and in those times we could all use some extra funds to help us through. And Dave is the banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's Extra Cash account. Advance the money when you need with no interest, and then settle up later. Essentially, if you need some extra dough for life's unexpected moments, Dave can help you out so you don't have to just keep waiting for that paycheck to show up. If that sounds like something that would interest you, you can download Dave today at dave.com/hoops. That's dave.com/hoops. You could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/hoops. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. And again, a big thank you to Dave for supporting the channel. The first legendary group we're going to give a new member to are the Treasures of Ruin from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. These guys, despite being very unique, have been received extremely well, and I would say are one of the better secondary legendary groups that are out there. So what would it be like if another one of them was introduced? Well, it could possibly be something like this. This is wo-chien, and it is a dark steel-type member of the Treasures of Ruin. The artwork of this guy, along with the rest of the designs in this video, was done by my good friend Oscar Belmonte, so shout out to him and be sure to check him out as always with the links in the description below. With each member of this quartet being based on a different type of treasure though, wo-chien is based around a bronze statue. Or you could just say a fancy statue in general. This is where the steel type comes from, in addition to the dark type that the Treasures of Ruin share. On top of that, wo-chien would also have some really interesting backstory that would make it a really interesting Pokemon as well. It would of course have the same backstory as the other Treasures of Ruin, but it would also be mentioned either in its Pokédex entry or in just the game in general that wo-chien is a statue of a legendary dragon Pokemon that has come to life as a result of the King's malice, just like the other members of this group. But it naturally doesn't look like any dragon-type Pokemon that we have seen before, so this could ignite a lot of speculation and theories about who the true identity of this legendary dragon Pokemon is, and I think that would be a lot of fun. This, in turn, also gets into why wo-chien isn't a dragon type itself, because as a Treasure of Ruin, who are objects that have been possessed by dark energy, it isn't really a dragon itself, but rather a dragon statue, which would be made of bronze or iron or gold or whatever, and therefore the steel type would be a little more applicable. With that said though, we are now going to go ahead and take a look at wo-chien's name. And while I thought it would be tough to come up with since the Treasures of Ruin's names are so unique, it actually wasn't that bad and turned out pretty good in my opinion. So the thing about the Treasures of Ruin's names is that they are all named after the object they are based around and the animal they are based around. They then use the Chinese words for these things and portray them in a bit of a romanized form to help with the pronunciation in English. So, wo-chien follows all of these parameters and comes from long with 2 O's, which is Chinese for dragon, and jinshu, which means metal in Chinese. So is wo-chien something that you would like to see emerge from one of those ancient seals in the Paldea region? Let me know in the comments down below, and now let's go ahead and move on to our next Pokemon. We're now going to take a look at the hero duo of Zacian and Zamazenta, and give them a new member. This is Zagozen, and it is what I think a third member of this duo could look like. When creating a new member of this duo, it's a bit tricky because Zacian and Zamazenta are based on a sword and shield, which are a pretty iconic duo in and of themselves. So like, what object like this do you possibly add to a sword and shield to make it into a trio that would also make sense? Well, I don't know if it's the opening sequence of Kingdom Hearts that makes me think this, but I feel like a staff or a wand goes pretty good with these two, so that's what I have decided to base Zagozen around. However, lucky for me, this just so happens to fit in perfectly with Zacian and Zamazenta, as they are also based a lot around the legend of King Arthur, and it just so happens that arguably the most well-known and iconic wizard of all time, Merlin, is also a part of the King Arthur legend. Merlin is also well known for his iconic wizard hat, and I could be wrong here, but it also feels like the wizard hat trope kind of originates with Merlin a bit too, as the OG wizard that he is. So all of this just feels like it fits really well in my opinion. For the purpose of this video, I also just did the powered up form of Zagozen, as opposed to its regular form like Zacian and Zamazenta have. But let's be honest, that's what really matters here anyway. That powered up form is also known as its crowned mage form, and Zagozen would attain this form, similar to Zacian and Zamazenta, by being given the dusty hat item, which would be the equivalent to the rusted sword and shield. It would also become Steel Psychic type in this form. However, unlike Zacian and Zamazenta, who gained the Steel type in this form, Zagozen would gain the Psychic type instead, and would be pure Steel type in its regular form. This is basically to make the typings make sense with the form change, since a wizard hat isn't exactly made out of metal like the rusted sword and shield, but it would naturally grant some additional psychic powers, and this way it can still have the same steel type theme as the other two. Next, we've got to talk about the color that this Pokemon revolves around, since that is another trend with the hero duo. They're both themed after a specific color, with Zacian being themed around the color cyan, and Zamazenta being themed around the color magenta, and they're even directly named after those colors as well. So Zagozen is themed after the color gold, and is named after gold too, since its name is a corrupted form of the term the Golden, just like Zacian and Zamazenta do with their names and the colors they're based on. I also picked gold as a color since it appears to have a connection with the psychic type as well, since Sabrina gives out what is literally known as the gold badge in Japanese as a psychic type user, and I believe that this does indeed also come from some real world connections as well, if I'm not mistaken. With that said, there you have it though. That is what a third member of the hero duo could be like. However, we're not done quite yet, so let's go ahead and move on to our next legendary Pokemon. For our third Pokemon of the video, I'm going to be looking at the light trio of Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma. When faced with the challenge of giving this trio a new member, this is what I came up with. Meet Astromare, the star Pokemon. When I thought about how I could design another member of this trio, the main basis was pretty obvious, as since Solgaleo and Lunala are based around the sun and moon, Astromare naturally had to be based around the stars, and then Necrozma, as the Prism Pokemon, could essentially be upgraded to a Trio Master in this scenario, which it basically already is anyway. You might be wondering though why Astromare is a shark, because that might seem like a little out of left field, but there is a reason. It's not a super deep reason, but basically, since Solgaleo is based on a lion, which is a land animal, and Lunala is a bat, which effectively is like a sky animal since they can fly, I thought going for a sea animal made sense and would be fun, so that together the land, sea, and sky were represented between the three of them. It's also a bit of a pun, since it makes Astromare a starfish, which isn't a lot in terms of the inspiration or the overall appeal of the design, but who doesn't appreciate a good pun, am I right? The star inspiration is as big a part of this Pokemon as anything though, and I think ultimately we made it shine through in a really cool way. It's got a star-shaped tail for starters, a star-shaped pattern on its nose, and what I think is most cool, it's got these yellow streaks that run up and down its body, which are meant to resemble shooting stars that streak across the night sky. And its body is also colored a dark blue for this exact reason as well, as it's meant to represent the night sky itself, meaning that Astromare is literally designed after the night sky, with the stars sitting in it and streaking across it. Additionally, due to its aquatic nature, it is a psychic water type, sharing the psychic type with its legendary counterparts. And finally, the name Astromare, which I think sounds really cool, follows in the footsteps of Solgaleo and Lunala, which use Latin words in their names that describe the sun and moon that they're based on, as well as the animal that they're based on. So, Astromare does the same thing, coming from astro, which is Latin for star, and mare, which is Latin for sea, since it's a shark and a water type. Which of these new legendaries do you like the best though? Which one would you want to see in an actual game? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't yet for more. If you'd like to further support the channel as well, you can also listen to my Pokemon remixes on Spotify and other music streaming services, which immensely helps out the channel right back here and is extremely appreciated. With that said, I'll be back very soon with another new video, and until then, as always, thanks so much for watching this one, I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.